At her company's gala, my wife raised her glass and said Henry's the practice round before the man I really want. Everyone laughed. I just smiled, because by sunrise she would be locked out of everything with my name on it. My wife Lena is a public relations executive at one of those creative agencies in Chicago where everyone talks about personal brands over expensive lattes. She grew up chasing approval, her father's especially, and I mistook that hunger for ambition when we first met. I am an architect. I work with blueprints and structural integrity, with load-bearing walls and foundations that need to support weight most people never think about. We met 6 years ago when she was interning at a firm that contracted my company for a mixed-use development downtown. She had this energy that filled rooms. When she walked into meetings, people straightened in their chairs and paid attention. I was quieter, the kind of person who listens more than talks, who notices the way sunlight hits a room at different times of day. She said I balanced her out, that my steadiness grounded her restless creativity. For the first few years it worked. We had this rhythm where her social energy pulled me into experiences I would never have chosen alone, and my calm presence gave her somewhere safe to land when the performance exhausted her. But somewhere around year 4, steady became boring in her eyes. I started noticing the way she looked at me when I talked about work, this glaze that came over her expression like she was tolerating rather than listening. There is this coworker at her agency named Dylan. He is one of those smooth-talking client relations guys who always wears expensive watches and has opinions about wine regions. He started appearing in her stories constantly. Dylan said this about the campaign. Dylan thinks we should pivot the messaging. Dylan made everyone laugh at the team meeting. 3 weeks ago, I came home early from a site inspection that finished ahead of schedule. I heard her voice from upstairs, that bright animated tone she uses when she is performing for someone she wants to impress. I stood in the hallway downstairs, keys still in my hand, listening to her laugh through the phone. Then I heard her say it. Henry's the foundation, but Dylan's the view. She said it like she was workshopping ad copy, testing which phrase sounded better. I stood outside our bedroom door for 30 seconds feeling something shift in my chest. It was not anger exactly, more like the sensation of discovering a structural flaw in a building you thought was sound. Then I walked back outside, sat in my car in the driveway until my hands stopped shaking, and came back in 20 minutes later acting like I had just arrived home. She was downstairs making dinner when I walked in, humming to herself, completely unaware that the foundation she mentioned was starting to calculate load limits. That night after she fell asleep, I called my sister Amelia. She is a divorce attorney who had been warning me for 2 years about Lena's patterns. I always defended her, made excuses about stress at work or family pressure or the complicated dynamics of her relationship with her father. This time I just said I think you were right about everything. Amelia was quiet for a moment. Then she said I will start pulling together what you need, but you have to be absolutely sure about this, Henry. Once we start moving pieces into place, there is no going back. I told her I was sure. I had never been more certain of anything in my professional life, and this felt the same way. A clear assessment of structural integrity showing fundamental compromise that could not be repaired. 2 days later, Lena reminded me about her company's annual holiday gala. It was this big event where the agency showed off for clients and partners, everyone dressed up and performing success. She wanted me there as her +1. She said it would look good for her image, help her career advancement. I said of course I would go. I even bought a new suit, charcoal gray with subtle pinstripes that Lena said made me look distinguished. The gala was last Friday night at this venue downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Lena wore a gold dress that caught every light in the room, and she worked the crowd like she always did, magnetic and completely in control. I stayed near the bar, nursing a whiskey and watching her move through clusters of people with practiced ease. She introduced me to a few colleagues, but mostly I was an accessory she checked on occasionally between more important conversations. Around 9 o'clock, the CEO of her agency approached me at the bar. He was one of those men who clap people on the shoulder when they talk, projecting warmth that probably polls well with focus groups. He said, "Lena's a real star, Henry. You must be so proud." Then he called her over with a wave, and she came gliding across the room with Dylan trailing behind her like he belonged there. The CEO made some joke about power couples and how rare it was to find people who supported each other's success. Lena laughed, that performance laugh I had come to recognize over 6 years, bright and musical and completely hollow. Then she said, "Oh, Henry, he is my starter husband. You know, practice before the real deal." The group around us laughed. Dylan raised his glass like she had just delivered a particularly clever toast. Lena squeezed my arm affectionately like it was brilliant comedy we were all in on together. I stood there for exactly 3 seconds, feeling every eye on me waiting to see how I would react. I did not react. I just looked at her, really looked at her, memorizing the exact expression on her face, that complete lack of awareness that she had just crossed an uncrossable line. Then I smiled, a small, polite smile. The kind you give when you have just finalized a blueprint and know exactly how the structure will hold under pressure. I excused myself, told her I was not feeling well and would catch an Uber home. She barely registered what I said, already turning back to her audience. I got my coat from the check, walked out into the November cold, and sat in my car for 10 minutes just breathing. Then I called Amelia again. This time I did not ask for advice. I just said it is time. Tell me exactly what I need to do to protect myself. She walked me through everything over the next hour while I drove home through empty streets. How to secure assets purchased before marriage. How to separate finances without triggering alerts. How to protect myself legally while staying completely above board. How to build an exit that would not just be clean but architecturally perfect. Every step methodical and documented. Every action defensible. I am executing the first phase tomorrow morning while she is still sleeping off whatever after party she is attending tonight without me. I should probably feel angrier. I should want to confront her, demand explanations, give her a chance to apologize. But I am just done. Done being the foundation she stands on while building her view somewhere else. She called me her starter husband in front of people who respect me professionally. She mocked 6 years of marriage for a laugh. Fine. But what she does not realize is that I have been building the finished product in silence for 3 weeks now. She just will not be part of it anymore. Am I wrong for not trying to fix this? Part of me thinks I should give her a chance to apologize, to explain what she meant. But someone who truly loved me would not make that joke in the first place. She wanted the real deal instead of the starter husband, so I am giving her exactly what she asked for, a clean separation from the practice round. Update 1. The morning after the gala, I could not sleep. I was up at 5 making coffee, watching the sun come up over the buildings across the street from our brownstone. Lena came home around 3 in the morning. I heard her stumble in, the sound of her heels hitting the hardwood floor as she kicked them off in the entryway. She collapsed into bed without checking if I was awake, still wearing her gold dress, smelling like wine and expensive cologne that was not mine. She slept until noon. When she finally emerged from the bedroom, hungover and squinting against the daylight, I had already made breakfast. Eggs and toast and fresh coffee, the Sunday morning routine we had maintained for years. I asked her how the after-party was, keeping my voice casual and interested. She mumbled something about it being fine, about staying out too late, about needing a long shower. Then she disappeared into the bathroom for 40 minutes. Amelia came over that afternoon, while Lena was at the salon getting her nails done. My sister walked through the house I had bought 3 years before I met Lena, taking photos of rooms and furniture and architectural details. Documentation of premarital assets, she explained. Everything that existed before the marriage and legally remained mine. She brought her laptop and walked me through setting up a new bank account with only my name on it. By Monday morning, my direct deposit would be redirected. Lena would never see it coming. My cousin Sam showed up next. He is 29 years old and works in cybersecurity for a firm that handles sensitive corporate data. I told him what I needed and he did not ask questions, just got to work on his laptop at my dining room table. Sam set up an automated backup for cloud storage I already had legitimate access to. Lena and I share an iCloud family account for photo sharing and finding devices if one of us loses a phone. Sam just made sure anything uploaded to that shared space was automatically archived to a separate secure drive. Completely legal. Just smart data management. Within 24 hours of Sam finishing his setup, I had my answer about what Lena had really been doing. The shared drive started filling up with screenshots, voice memos, text threads that backed up automatically from her phone to our family cloud. She had no idea it was happening. Around 11 that night, after Lena had gone to bed early claiming exhaustion, I opened my laptop in my home office and started going through what had accumulated. The first thing I found was a voice memo from 3 weeks ago, right around the time I overheard her on the phone. It was Lena talking to her friend Rachel, probably during a walk because I could hear traffic in the background. She said, "I think Henry suspects something, but he is too boring to actually do anything about it. Dylan's fun, but he is not exactly upgrade material either." I just need to ride this out until I find someone who is actually worth the drama of divorce. I sat there in my office chair listening to her voice analyze me like I was a problem she was managing. Too boring to do anything. Not worth the drama. I replayed it 3 times trying to feel something other than cold clarity. Then I kept looking through the archive. There were text messages with Dylan, dozens of them spanning months. Hotel confirmations. Dinner receipts charged to our joint credit card that had nothing to do with client meetings. A reservation at that boutique hotel in River North for a night when she told me she was at a women in advertising conference. Every charge made with money from our joint account, money I earned designing buildings while she built her view with someone else. I did not rage. I did not throw anything or wake her up demanding explanations. I just sat there in the blue light of my laptop screen feeling something cold and clear settle over me like the first snow of winter. The structural assessment was complete. The building was unsound. Demolition was the only option. The next day I did something that probably seems calculated, but it was necessary for what came next. I invited Lena's parents over for dinner on Friday night. Her father, Richard, is a corporate lawyer who has always intimidated me slightly. Her mother, Patricia, is the kind of woman who notices everything and comments on it with surgical precision. They drove in from their house in Evanston, and I cooked braised short ribs, set the table with the wedding china we never touch, and spent the evening praising Lena's career in front of them. I talked about how proud I was of her success, how she had worked so hard to establish herself in a competitive industry. Her mother got emotional, saying how happy we seemed together, how solid our marriage was. Her father actually smiled at me, something he rarely did, and said we were building something that would last. I smiled back and agreed. It was the last illusion I would ever help maintain. After they left, Lena kissed my cheek and said, "You are sweet, Henry, even if you are predictable." Then she went upstairs to take a bath while I went down to my home office and finalized my exit checklist. House access codes changed through the security company. Joint credit cards frozen through fraud investigation procedures. Moving service contacted for Thursday morning. Storage unit rented under my name only. HR contacts identified at the parent company that owns Lena's agency. My architecture firm has a major contract with her agency's parent company. We designed their new headquarters 2 years ago, a building I am genuinely proud of. This matters because Lena's professional reputation is indirectly tied to my professional relationship with her corporate leadership. What she says and does reflects on both of us. 2 days ago, Lena announced she was going to a team retreat in Miami. 4 days, she said. Important planning sessions for next quarter's campaigns. I said she should enjoy herself and that I would miss her. I even drove her to O'Hare Wednesday morning and kissed her goodbye at the terminal. She texted from the gate about how much she would miss me, how she loved me. I responded with a heart emoji and drove to Amelia's office downtown. Phase 1 is happening now. The locks change tomorrow while she is still in Florida. Security codes reset Friday morning. Cards frozen pending fraud investigation, which is technically accurate given the hotel charges and dinners that were not legitimate business expenses. The moving company comes Monday to pack and transport her belongings to the storage unit. Everything organized, everything cataloged, everything done properly. And the HR thing. I did not send anything myself, but someone recorded the gala and posted highlights to the agency's internal platform, including Lena's starter husband joke. Someone anonymously forwarded that clip to the parent company's Human Resources Department. Maybe someone thought the parent company should know how subsidiary employees represent themselves at corporate events. Amelia's contact in corporate HR received it Wednesday morning. And HR at companies like this takes reputation very seriously when major client relationships are involved. When the architect who designed your headquarters appears to be publicly humiliated by an agency employee at a professional event, that raises questions about judgment and professional conduct. Lena does not know any of this yet. She is still in Miami posting Instagram stories of sunset views and team dinner selfies, living in a version of reality where her words have no consequences and her husband is too boring to do anything but accept whatever she decides. She lands Sunday evening. By then her key will not work in the front door. Her code will not open the garage. Her cards will be declined at baggage claim when she tries to buy a bottle of water. And Monday morning, she will receive an email from corporate HR requesting her presence at a meeting regarding professional conduct at company events. Dylan will be copied on that email. They will both be asked to explain the video and the inappropriate relationship that multiple sources have now confirmed. I am not trying to destroy her. I am just removing myself from being her foundation while she builds her view elsewhere. She wanted the real deal instead of the starter husband, so I am stepping aside, without my house that I bought before we met, without my financial support that funded her lifestyle, without the stability she took for granted while planning her upgrade. Some of you will think this is too calculated, too cold. Maybe you are right, but I am an architect. When a structure is fundamentally compromised, you do not patch the cracks and hope for the best. You demolish it properly and build something new that will actually support weight. Update 2, she is back. Everything went exactly as planned, which somehow makes it feel more surreal rather than satisfying. Sunday night. Lena's flight landed at 8. I tracked it on my phone, knew exactly when she would be heading to the rideshare pickup area outside baggage claim. I had made sure her car would be unavailable. The BMW she drives is leased through my company as a business vehicle. I called the leasing company Friday and explained that the authorized driver would be returning it early due to changes in our business structure. They picked it up Saturday afternoon, completely legal. Completely within my rights as the lessee. She took an Uber home and texted me from the car saying she could not wait to see me, that she had missed me so much, completely unaware that her key would not work in 30 minutes. I was not at home. I was at Amelia's apartment watching the security camera feed from the new system I had installed Thursday. Lena does not read notifications about house maintenance, so she had no idea I had upgraded everything. I watched her arrive on my phone screen, watched her pull her suitcase up the front steps looking tan and relaxed from 4 days in Miami. Watched the confusion cross her face when her key would not turn in the lock. She tried it 3 times, examined the key like maybe she had grabbed the wrong one somehow. Then she tried the garage keypad. The code did not work. She stood there for a moment looking at her phone, probably trying to decide whether to be annoyed or worried. She called me. I let it ring 4 times before answering, keeping my voice calm and slightly distant. I told her I was out having drinks with a colleague. What is wrong? She said her key was not working and neither was the garage code. I said the security company must have changed codes during the system upgrade I had mentioned. I would be home in 20 minutes. I waited 40 minutes. Long enough for her to sit in the October cold in the sundress she had worn on the plane back from Miami. When I finally pulled into the driveway, she was shivering on the front steps, arms wrapped around herself, looking frustrated and confused and slightly humiliated. I got out of my car slowly, walked up the steps and unlocked the door with my new key. Then I stopped in the doorway, blocking her path. She said, "What are you doing, Henry? This is my house too." Her voice had that edge to it, the one she uses when she thinks someone is being unreasonable. I looked at her directly. I told her it is not. This house was purchased with my money 3 years before we met. She has never been on the deed. She has lived here as my guest. That arrangement has ended. She stared at me like I had just started speaking a different language. I pulled out my tablet, the one I keep work files on. I had loaded it with everything. Screenshots of text messages between her and Dylan. Voice memos including the one where she called me too boring to do anything. Hotel receipts charged to our joint card. And the video from the gala. I played the video first. Let her watch herself in that gold dress call me her starter husband. Let her see Dylan raise his glass and the group laugh and her squeeze my arm like it was all such clever fun. I watched her face go pale under her Miami tan. She started saying it was just a joke, that everyone makes jokes like that I was being too sensitive. I switched to the text messages. Her and Dylan planning meetups, making jokes about me. Discussing hotels and timing everything around my work schedule. I said I know about Miami. I know about the other trips. I know you told Rachel I am too boring to do anything about it. She started crying then. Real tears or performance tears, I honestly could not tell anymore. She said she could explain everything, that Dylan was just a mistake, that she had been confused about what she wanted, that she wanted to fix this. That we could go to counseling, that she still loved me. I said you called me your starter husband at a professional event where my colleagues could hear you. You mocked our marriage for a laugh. She said it was just words, just stupid words she did not really mean. I told her words matter, especially when you work in public relations. Especially when those words get documented and shared with people who care about professional conduct and corporate reputation. My phone buzzed. A text from Amelia's contact at the parent company's HR department. My heart actually stopped for a second. The text said, "Call me now, urgent." I stepped away from Lena, walked down the driveway to my car, called him back with hands that were not quite steady. He said someone is asking questions about who forwarded the gala video. Someone on Lena's team is trying to trace the source. My mind raced through possibilities and consequences. Then he said, "Do not worry. We traced it internally. Multiple employees had access to that video. You are not implicated in any way. You are completely clear. I stood there in my driveway breathing cold October air and feeling relief wash through me. I walked back to where Lena was still standing on the porch. Her phone started buzzing. Email notifications. She pulled it out and I watched her face change as she read. The HR email requesting her presence Monday morning, mentioning the video, copying Dylan, requesting explanation for conduct at a professional event. She looked up at me and said, "What did you do, Henry? What did you do?" I said I did not do anything. Someone who attended the gala recorded the evening and shared it internally through your agency's platform. Someone else thought your behavior warranted HR attention from corporate. I simply exist in the aftermath of your choices. She tried to push past me into the house. Said she needed to get her things, that she would stay somewhere else tonight, but she needed her laptop and clothes. I told her all her belongings had been packed by a professional moving service and transported to a storage unit. I handed her a slip of paper with the address and access code written in my careful architect's handwriting. Everything she owns is there, I said, safe and organized, ready whenever she wants it. She stood there staring at the paper like it was written in a language she could not comprehend. Then she looked up at me and said, "You planned this. The whole time I was in Miami, you were planning this." I said I was protecting myself. "There is a difference." She asked where she was supposed to go. I suggested Dylan's place. She said Dylan was not answering her calls. I said maybe you should have upgraded to someone more reliable. She sort of crumpled then, sat down on the porch steps and put her head in her hands. Started saying she had made mistakes, but she loved me, that she could fix this if I would just let her try. I stood there watching her fall apart and felt absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger. Just the calm that comes from watching a compromised structure finally fail exactly the way you calculated it would. I told her she should contact a lawyer, that Amelia's office would be sending divorce papers by end of week, that the joint credit cards were frozen pending investigation of fraudulent charges, that she would need to get her own accounts, her own housing, that I would pay for 3 months of storage, and after that she would need to handle it herself. Then I stepped back into the house and closed the door, locked it behind me. I went to the window and watched her sit there for maybe 10 minutes. Watched her make phone calls that apparently went unanswered. Watched her finally stand up, grab her suitcase, and walk down the driveway like someone who had just realized the ground beneath her feet was never as solid as she thought. She ordered another Uber, waited at the curb in the dark, left. Final update. The divorce finalized 8 weeks ago. Clean separation, no drama in court. Lena did not contest anything because there was nothing to contest. The house was mine before marriage. The accounts were separate after I protected my assets. The joint cards had fraudulent charges she could not explain. She took her belongings from storage and moved into a shared apartment in Wicker Park with 2 roommates she found on Facebook. Her career never recovered. The suspension became termination after the investigation revealed financial misconduct, using corporate cards for personal expenses, falsifying expense reports to cover hotel rooms and dinners that were not legitimate business. They terminated both her and Dylan. Lena tried freelancing for a while, posted on LinkedIn about starting her own consulting business with messages about authentic branding and finding your truth. No serious clients came. No agencies hired her. Last I heard, she is managing social media for small boutiques downtown, work that pays rent in a shared apartment but not for the lifestyle she had built her identity around. Dylan moved to Austin almost immediately after being fired, but word travels fast in connected industries. Someone from Lena's agency knew someone at Dylan's new startup. Stories got shared over drinks and networking events. He lasted 4 months before they let him go during restructuring. I do not know where he is now. I do not care enough to track it. I sold the house 3 months ago. I could not stay there anymore with too many memories of trying to make something work with someone who was never really present, never really invested in what we were building together. I made a good profit and used it to buy this condo in a building I actually helped design 4 years ago. Hired a designer who understood my vision for something clean and modern and peaceful. Every piece of furniture was chosen intentionally. No compromises, no accommodating someone else's aesthetic preferences or emotional needs. My firm is thriving. The parent company contract led to 3 more major projects with industry leaders.